To begin this morning, our colleague, senior contributor Ted Koppel, tells about the power of the arts to instill hope and realize dreams in a most unlikely place.
Sing Sing, 40 miles and a world away from New York City. For almost 200 years, a grim monument to the theory that harsh discipline discourages former inmates from returning to a life of crime. It's a flawed theory. A national study by the Department of Justice found that 60% of former inmates are back behind bars within 3 years, which is what gives the movie Sing Sing such resonance.
The world expects brothers like you and I to walk in with our heads held down. Nah, what you gotta walk in like a king. Everything is yours.
I'm divine now.
Yes.
This is my theater.
Now give him some love, give him some love.
Before he got a taste for acting, Clarence Maclin, who came to be known as Divine I, was a violent, knife-wielding, drug-dealing inmate at Sing Sing.
Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune.
Now he's appearing as a version of himself in a critically acclaimed movie about a prison theater program. The movie starring a Hollywood veteran, Colman Domingo.
You gotta admit that I murdered that Hamlet scene, bro. Shakespeare is in his grave right now. He rolled over.
You did your thing, beloved.
In fact, 85% of the cast members in the film are what's referred to these days as formerly incarcerated. You happy with the movie?
I'm loving the movie. I'm loving the reaction, the acceptance, the way that people get it.
Well, it's got to be a big change for you. I mean, you were always the outlaw, and now you're the star.
Yeah, it is a big change. It's a beautiful thing.
On a recent evening in November, we visited Sing Sing Prison with Maclin and John Whitfield, the man he credits for his transformation. Whitfield, known as Divine G, was an award-winning author in prison and a founding member of Sing Sing's theater program. This is the man Colman Domingo portrays in the movie. Without this guy?
Probably would still be in and out of prison. Never would have changed my life had it not been for this brother being in his tenacity about getting me into the program.
Getting him into the program, RTA, Rehabilitation Through the Arts, that took some doing.
But he eventually came around, and he came down and he experimented. And the minute he got on that stage and got bitten by the bug, I couldn't shut him up.
The two Divines, both out of Sing Sing for a dozen years now, returned as guests to meet with members of the current RTA class and a couple of civilian volunteers. Perhaps nowhere in the world are the actual Divines better known and more widely admired than here.
Yeah, I had a match that. Yeah, I'm definitely the hat, man. I ain't been this in about 12 years, man.
This was a warm-up exercise, and the Divines jumped right in.
Chicken.
Fried. Rice.
Chicken.
Fried.
Rice.
Chicken.
Faster.
Fried. Rice.
Chicken.
Fried.
Rice.
All right.
Now, hold on. Somebody explain to me what the hell that was all about.
It's definitely about communication, about keeping eye contact, and we use that particular exercise so that when we're on stage, we try not to step over everybody's lines. So you got to pay attention.
And it helps you remember where you came from, because all we had was chicken fried rice.
The laughter may be especially jarring to the victims of their crimes or to the families of those victims. What, to put it more bluntly, does society get out of these RTA programs? Here's one answer. The staggering number of former inmates back in prison 3 years or less after their release, that 60% recidivism rate, is just 3% for those who stayed with the Rehabilitation Through the Arts program. Divine G was involved with RTA back when success was still very much in question.
I would think that the first reaction would have been laughter.
It was. Some people was looking at us like we had four heads. I mean, crazy? I mean, going on stage talking about to be or not to be. We didn't force feed it that fast. You know, we have to do it incrementally.
None of it would have been possible without volunteers from the outside.
Little by little, that getting into the character, first step in empathy. And I'd see the guys eventually saying to one another, what do you think your character feels?
Almost 20 years ago, Brent Buell volunteered long days at Sing Sing to direct the play that's at the heart of the film.
Hold up, did you do it? Because we all fell asleep.
He's portrayed in the movie by Oscar-nominated actor Paul Raci.
I want to see Hamlet come out here, take the stage and say, hey!
The guys said they wanted to do something with Robin Hood, they wanted something with Egyptians, they wanted something with the Old West, they wanted something with Freddy Krueger, they wanted something with gladiators.
They wanted a comedy that didn't exist, so Buell wrote it for them over one long weekend and called it Breaking the Mummy's Code.
When they first read it, it would be like this. Oh, we are the merry men of Sherwood Forest. And I'd say, it's a comedy?
Buell recalls one particular breakthrough moment.
The play takes place in the Black Plague, and the men have been dying, and a lot in common, the Egyptian priest says,
just then, the bodies began to rot.
And one of the men inadvertently let out a very loud sound.
Yes.
And the guy started to laugh. Well, then everybody was making rotting noises and things. And they all had permission to be funny. And that was really a turning point in how the whole cast began to see that this is a comedy and we can really have fun.
Somehow, I don't think this is going to convince America that we have the solution to our penal problems.
What'll convince them is when they meet and are able to talk to the men, that developing of the trust, the respect, the empathy, those men are different people than they were.
Buell taped the original production so that the men could share it with their families.
To be or not.
Here's Clarence Maclin very early in his acting career.
Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. And now.
And here we have Divine G as a ring announcer in the Roman Colosseum.
We welcome you to the main event.
This was back in 2005, and Brian Fisher, who was Sing Sing's superintendent back then, recalls that some of his staff were a little skeptical.
All those guys up there carrying on. But as time goes by, the staff accepts them. And more importantly, the other offenders in the prison accept them. They become leaders. They become people that other people want to follow. And it changes the atmosphere and reduces the tension in the prison.
Now retired, Brian Fisher went on to become New York State's Commissioner of Prisons.
I think over time, the fact that we were able to put it in other prisons, the fact that it was now acceptable, theater, arts, music, is now acceptable in prisons that up till now didn't want it.
Prison life doesn't normally encourage displays of emotion. RTA made that permissible. This is Demetrius Sampson.
I've been gone so long that I forgot what freedom felt like. But when I came to RTA, I felt free again. I left all the regrets and anxiety and mess ups at the door. And I was able to come in and portray a character with free man problems.
They put the name of King upon me, then bade them speak to him.
Tim Walker, a lifer, cites the role he played as Macbeth 13 years ago as a life-changing experience.
Come fate and champion me unto the utterance. That's Macbeth. That's the impact that RTA has had on me. That was the first time I ever touched a stage. Someone convicted of murder, multiple felonies. I changed my life.
The public sees us as the problem, and RTA sees us as the solution.
I came here as an inspiration to be inspiring to you, and I got inspired by you. Your humanity is monumental. You boys are giants in here.
Nothing more or less than the promise that they can be something other than they were.
1, 2, 3,